Good evening and welcome to the Link Sports Show. I'm Ollie Collins and joining me in the studio this evening are Link Sport reporters Danyal Khan and James Williams. We start with Lincoln City, who fell to their first league defeat since January on Tuesday night. They were beaten 2-0 at Boreham Wood on a disappointing night in North London. So guys, a bad day at the office.
I think, yeah, very much so, a bad day at the office for Lincoln City. It was a difficult one, really, going away on a Tuesday night after getting knocked out the FA Trophy. It was always going to be difficult for Danny Cowley to pick up his players. And that showed on Tuesday evening. Bit of mental fatigue as well. They just weren't 100%. They held Boreham Wood for a long period of that match and probably had the better of the chances in the first half. But they didn't create too many
I was going to say, struggling to create chances really in that game, weren't they?
Yeah, and they were a bit flat the whole way through. Danyal didn't see much of the ball up front. Didn't get the ball wide enough, and when they did get the ball to, especially Josh Danyal, he was wasteful really. He got himself into good positions and didn't make the most of them. But although Danny Cowley didn't want to call it a blip after the match, it's probably the biggest blip that his team have had this season, and now it's just up to them to recover from that because they've got a massive game at the weekend.
Absolutely.
I think Danny Cowley needs to find his best team again. I think a lot of those players that, say, played against Burnley, for example, I think a few of those players have gone off the boil a little bit. You look at Terry Hawkridge. I think some of them may be just very tired as well, maybe just need a few games rest. But I think with the new signings such as Josh Danyal, they need to still find that balance and regain that balance in the team, I think.
Well, I asked Danny Cowley today at the press conference. I said to him, who's your best front two? Who's your best pairing up front?
Do you think he knows?
Well, this is what I was trying to get at, and I think ideally he thought it would be Reed and goal. And he did answer me pretty honestly and say, because he's had to change the team so much because of fatigue, he hasn't been able to bed in a front two that can work together and learn each other's game since he had Reed and Robinson. So he accepts the fact that up front there isn't a relationship between two strikers like Reed and Robinson had. And I think he's still trying to find that partnership. We saw Reed and Muldoon work on a couple of occasions, like at Burnley. Reed and Angol haven't really hit it off so far. They didn't really...
We've not really seen much of Margits as well, really.
No, Margits looks short on confidence to me. He does look... He needs a goal, Johnny Margits. And to be fair, I'd give Adam Marriott more of a go. He did well in the earlier part of the season. And in the first leg away at York last week when he was started in the FA Trophy, he did look okay for 60 minutes. I think the worry with Adam Marriott is that he doesn't have 90 minutes in him. He's susceptible to injuries. But I'd just play him 60 minutes and get the best out of him for them and then sub him.
I hear Marriott had a good performance in an academy game recently as well.
Yeah, I think that...
11-2 the result was apparently from that one.
I think with Adam Marriott, I think any other season he'd be fantastic for Lincoln City in terms of he probably would be starting every game. I think, unfortunately for Lincoln, being before Tuesday's game, being top of the league, they've had teams really build a foundation to defend against them, and unfortunately Marriott doesn't have a lot of pace. I mean, he has a good 50 yards stop, but he doesn't have, say, that natural pace or that massive physical presence of an Angola or Reed, or debatably that natural finishing ability Margits may have. So I think he's just a bit is he maybe just the wrong player at the wrong time? I'm not sure, but I agree though. I think he should be given a chance to show.
The positive from this is Lincoln do have so many options. They've got the pace of Muldoon, they've got the creativity of Marriott, they've got the goal-scoring ability of Johnny Margits, and they've got the presence and class of someone like Angol, who on his day can be unplayable, as Danny Cowley says. There's a lot of options there, and obviously not forgetting what Matt Reed can do. We've seen that over the past couple of years. So Lincoln have a lot of options, and I think they will, over the next couple of weeks, find their best front two.
I think just the last point on this, I think, is when we've seen them, I think it's fair to say that their main struggle has been that they haven't made enough chances. And it's great having all of these options, but with almost every combination Cowley's tried so far, they're not but even against York on Saturday, against a team that were defending for their lives, they still didn't really bombard that goal, with going from every angle, making a lot of clear-cut opportunities. Yeah, Whitehouse had a chance, and Janelli forced a few good saves, but they're still not, compared to Lincoln City a few months ago, where you could say 3 or 4 chances every game.
But I think Danny Cowley's also willing to learn Danny and Nicky will learn from these games. And yes, the last couple of games they haven't created as many chances as they'd have liked, but they'll be doing everything to make sure that on Saturday against Forest Green they do create chances. And I think we'll see a much improved Lincoln on Saturday.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, guys, who starts up front on Saturday. Imps manager Danny Cowley says he's not too concerned by the defeat.
Our supporters just want us to do well, don't they? And when we don't do well, we come up a bit short, they're naturally disappointed. And we understand that. It's really hard for supporters because sometimes they don't feel like they've got control over the outcomes, whereas I suppose we're much calmer because we do have control over the outcomes. And I just think it's perspective. I spoke to the players this morning, and I think you always want to try to take perspective if you can. We understand it's a crazy world of football, and we understand that most people on it or in the game live this sort of emotional roller coaster, but it's not one that we're willing to live because I just think you can waste so much energy. And for us, it's really clear. We don't get too high when we win, and we don't get too low when we lose.
So the defeat also saw the Imps lose their place at the top of the National League table to this weekend's opponents, Forest Green Rovers. But City still have 3 games in hand. Guys, it's a massive match on Saturday, a must-not-lose game for Lincoln City.
Yeah, definitely a must-not lose. If they lose, then obviously Forest Green goes 6 clear at the top, and that puts a lot of pressure on Lincoln to win the 3 games in hand that they've got. So a must-not-lose, it's a negative way of looking at it, but it's also a realistic way of looking at it. And although Danny Cowley, no doubt, will be looking at that match and saying we can win it, just like they did previously last November.
And Dan, Forest Green in fantastic form at the moment as well.
Yeah, they are in fantastic form, and as James said earlier, they had a fantastic result on Tuesday, and they scored in the last minute, so that would do wonders for their confidence. But Cowley will be really trying to rear his players up. He'll be saying, let's make a statement again. Everyone's probably saying that we're throwing it away. Things are looking down. Well, let's prove them all wrong. As we've done all season, let's prove that we're in it seriously, and we're going to take the title to the wire.
It's a real do not panic sort of situation at the moment, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the message that came from Danny Cowley after the defeat to Bournemouth, and there is no reason to panic. Every team has a blip, although Danny Cowley didn't even want to say it was a blip. But every team has a couple of bad results. Lincoln aren't perfect, they're not the perfect team, and that we are to expect that. They've played so many games as well. Fatigue was going to become a factor. It's just how Lincoln now overcome that. And I'm sure Danny and Nicky Cowley will be trying to learn ways of how they can deal with that and how their team get back on form. And look, Saturday's match is a perfect opportunity to do that, isn't it? It's a massive game. And if the players can't get up for that, then they won't be able to get up for any match. So I'm sure we'll see a much improved Lincoln.
And as well, I think you have to put those results in context as well. I mean, they played Arsenal. Lincoln City played Arsenal at the Emirates. They play York City twice.
York are hard to beat.
Yeah,
York are very hard to beat this year.
York away on the Tuesday after Arsenal. And then, again, you look at that game on Saturday.
Well, they won in 90 minutes.
They won in 90 minutes, and they were the better team. Let's not forget. I know York have gone to the final, but where everyone has seen the penalty decision, that York got. In my opinion, it wasn't a penalty.
Well, in everyone's opinion,
it
wasn't a penalty.
Excuse me, but it wasn't a penalty. So you look at that; they should have been in the final they could have been in the final of the FA Trophy Wembley, and that completely, despite whatever the result was on Tuesday, that still changes the mood completely. Again, Boreham Wood, away, they have some good players as well. You look at QPR former academy player Bruno Andrade's still there. They have some good players as well. They're not easy to travel away to. So if you put all the games into context, it's not necessarily a blip at all.
Yeah, and Saturday's game's the perfect one to get back on track.
Absolutely. Well, Danny Cowley says that Forest Green will be very tough opponents.
For us, we go into every game trying to win. We're very respectful of Forest Green, respectful of Mark Cooper. All of his teams have a clear identity. He's a manager that really sticks to his principles and his styles and his beliefs, and he always organises a team to fit those styles and beliefs. So no, we have respect for him, respect for his team. He's got a lot of good players. They've got a fantastic team. Almost League One quality when you look at the players that they have. And it's a great game, isn't it? We go into it, BT Sport, and the cameras are here, which is great. And it's a game we have to look forward to and we have to embrace. I think we've had a lot of big games here this season, haven't we? And I think that's been brilliant for everybody associated with Lincoln City. It's certainly great for our group because we've been through a lot of big games and we know that we can play well in big games, and I think that experience as a collective will hold us in good stead for Saturday.
So guys, Lincoln City boosted by the return of Harry Anderson.
Yeah, definitely. He was brilliant in his first spell with the club earlier in the season. Obviously then he had to go back to Peterborough, but perfect time for him to come back. Lincoln need a boost, as we've been discussing, and to have someone like Harry Anderson come in is that perfect boost, I think.
I mean, he's youthful, he's speedy, he gets in behind. He also takes a man on, which I think, you know, Josh Janelli does a good job, but he's a bit less experienced than Harry Anderson.
Well, I think the point you're trying to make there is Josh Janelli can beat a man, but his delivery's not always there. Harry Anderson
yeah,
has a bit of both.
He has that end product as well, but I think, you know, Harry Anderson knows when to take someone on as well. He is a bit more kind of street aware of when it works and when it doesn't. You know, when to put the ball over the other side and, you know, have a go at someone. Whereas Janelli, I think, is still kind of working out the league a little bit. So, I mean, it's a great boost, and the whole squad will know how good Harry Anderson is. So to actually have a player returning when you know the quality, I mean, it's a great boost.
I think also Joe Ward's injury is worse than maybe first feared, and we might not see much more of him before his loan ends in the middle of April now, which is a blow. So I think that's part of the reason why Harry Anderson's come back, and that kind of atones for the injury suffered by Joe Ward.
Well, Danny Cowley says that Harry Anderson's return is a big boost to the team.
Harry is one that we really like. He's ever so hard working. He's got fantastic mobility. He's a presser, which is important for us, and he's robust enough.
Meanwhile, it's been a good week for Lincoln United, who beat Stocksbridge Park Steels 3-0 on Tuesday evening. The Whites have lost just once in the last 10 games, winning 7 of those matches. So guys, a really important win on Tuesday night.
Yeah, really important win, especially as they didn't play at the weekend because the match was postponed. So it was important to get the points on the board in the league, and now that's moved them back up to 8th, 6 points off the playoffs again. So yeah, good win.
And Jack McGovern's gone once again back to Gainsborough.
Yeah, the only disappointing bit of news really for Lincoln United at the moment that they've lost Jack McGovern again, and he'd been scoring goals up front alongside Connor Robinson. But look, you know, when you're offered a chance to go and play at a higher level, you've got to take it, and McGovern's done that. He already tried it once at Gainsborough under Don Roma. That didn't work out, but he's gone there again now. Dave Frecklington's managing, and we'll see how he does. But Lincoln United didn't seem to miss him too much on Tuesday evening, did they?
And is there a realistic chance of the playoffs this season?
It's difficult, isn't it? I think, you know, they had such a good run in all the cups that, you know,
Well, look, we'd almost written them off when a couple of months ago when they were in that bad run of form. They've done remarkably well to get themselves into a position where we're even talking about it. And now they're only 6 points off, and massive game on Saturday. They play Newcastle Town on Saturday. That is massive because Newcastle are in those playoff positions. If they were to beat them, and they've got to play them again this season as well, I think. So to beat them twice, and they're right in amongst it. So I think, yeah, they're still in with a shout. While you're 6 points off the playoffs, you're always in with a shout.
And they have 2-3 games on some teams as well above them. So anything's possible, I suppose.
And the form they're in. They are the form team in that league. 1 defeat in 10 games is not to be sniffed at, especially at this time of the season. You can't underline how important, you know, momentum at this stage of the season is. It's so important, and Lincoln United have it.
That's all we've got time for, I'm afraid. Thanks very much for joining me. We'll be back next week, but until then, you can keep up with the latest sports news in Lincoln by following us on Twitter @LinkSport. Goodbye.